Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Earnest James. Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Get some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hey guys, this is Ernest James, host of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and I got a question to ask you. Could you buy me a cheeseburger? Better yet, could you buy me a value meal? Yes? Well, guess what? I don't need a value meal. However, for the cost of a value meal, you can support this podcast to keep us on the air. Just go to Patreon/Deal to Heal podcast and choose any one of the 3 tiers that's available. And if you just want to make a one-time donation, go to Cash App and make a donation to $EJames, the number 418. Make a one-time donation to the Cash App, or again, go to Patreon to support this podcast and keep us on the air. Thanks in advance. Be blessed. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, please listen, like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else. Let people know what we're doing out here, because I know we're doing great things and we're making impact. And definitely we want to make sure that our message gets out to as many people as we can. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, to our Instagram page, wherever we are, that you guys may be able to catch every episode. And again, like I said, share it with someone else. Also, I'm going to tell you guys how you can win $100 from the podcast, but you got to stay until the end in order to get that information. So today, like most of the time, like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, but today we don't have a guest. Today, I am the guest. This is one of our solo episodes, which is just going to be me talking over some things that I think are important. And one of the things I did recently, first of all, let me say this to everyone that's listening. I just started another podcast. I just started recording another podcast that we are creating or have created and are getting ready to put out, which is called the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, which you heard at the very beginning of this podcast. You heard the ad for it. So those of you guys who have been rocking with the podcast for a while, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, you know that whenever I have a girl dad on, I always ask them two questions. What does it mean for you to be a girl dad? And what is something that your daughter has taught you? And so from those two questions, we've had some amazing conversations, and so after doing it for so many times that we've done it, I just think that it was at the point where it was like, you know what? These are some great conversations, and these are some great fathers who have came on. And so why not make this a podcast? Why not make it a podcast within itself that can stand alone within itself for itself to give voice to the girl dads around the world? And not only just the girl dads, but even the daughters themselves, to be able to talk about the impact their father have had on their lives. So right now we're recording our first couple episodes because we want to get a couple episodes recorded before we start putting them out. So those episodes for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast will be released on Fridays. So everyone knows that the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast comes out on Wednesdays. So the Girl Dad Discussion podcast will come out on Fridays. And make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? Because on our YouTube channel, you will find the podcast playlist for the Girl Dad Discussions. So on our YouTube channel for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, when you subscribe to our channel, and even if you don't subscribe, you still can watch it. But if you're going to watch it, you might as well subscribe, right? So when you subscribe to our channel, you will see all the videos and clips and things that we have that's on there. And then you will see the playlist for all of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast episodes. Then also now you also see the playlist for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Right now there's only one episode up, which is the very first episode with me kind of discussing how it got started. And but yeah, so that's our new thing. I'm very happy about it. I'm very excited to see what it does and how it grows. And we've already had some amazing people on, some amazing fathers talking about their relationship with their daughters. And I can't wait to start having daughters on talking about their relationship with their fathers, or the fathers and daughters on at the same time. I think that's going to be amazing conversation. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Also, when you're listening to this, when this come out, when this release this weekend on Saturday, which will be May 6th at the time of releasing it, that you're listening to this, May 6th, we are having our next forgiveness workshop, right? We're having our next forgiveness workshop. Definitely, you guys know who have been following us for a while what the forgiveness workshop is. Forgivenessmission.com is the organization that I've been blessed to be a part of, and we do free virtual workshops every quarter of the year. You can go to forgivenessmission.com to register, and or you can go to Eventbrite to register. Either way, even if you go to forgivenessmission.com, which is the website, you definitely can find out more information about the organization. And when you click on the link to register, it's going to send you to Eventbrite. So you can just go to Eventbrite and type in Forgiveness Mission or Forgiveness Workshop. And our next forgiveness workshop, which is a virtual workshop where we talk about forgiveness, it is free. It is this Saturday, May 6th. So if you guys have not registered already, do me a favor. Go register, right? Go register for the workshop. You definitely won't be disappointed in the information that we have and the information that we share. Also, you guys can also check out our other websites, our www.dealhealfulfill.org, which is our company website, where you can find out more about myself, my things that I have going on, both podcasts, the speaking engagements, workshops, all of those things you can find at dealhealfulfill.org. And also check out our ebooks by ejames.com website, ebooks by ejames.com, where you can find ebooks that I have written that I think is very valuable. Number one is the four core, which is the four core values that every daughter should receive from her father, which we actually talk about um, that ebook on the Girl Dare Discussions podcast. We have a segment where we discuss that, and because I think it's a valuable resource, and so far my guests have also agreed with me on that. So you can find that at ebooksbyejames.com, the core four, but you also can find From Males to Men, which is the male mentoring book, and you can also find Forgiving Me, the 4 steps to self forgiveness. And we were talking about the forgiveness mission. The Forgiving Me, 4 steps to self forgiveness actually came out of was birthed out of the forgiveness mission. So make sure you guys go to ebooksbyejames.com to pick up those books and add them to your library, right? Those ebooks, add them to your library. So let's jump into today's episode. So recently, I went and I saw the movie Creed, Creed 3, I believe it is. And for those of you who don't know what that movie is, depending on the time that you're watching this and how old you are, if you could go back all the way to the Rocky series of movies, which is about a Italian boxer played by Sylvester Stallone, and he kind of goes through his journey as being an underdog boxer and making his way to being the champ. In those series of movies, Sylvester Stallone's character Rocky fought against a gentleman named Apollo Creed. And in the next series of the movies, which is the Creed movies, is Apollo Creed's son. Is about Apollo Creed's son becoming a boxing champion himself. So in the latest edition of that movie series is Creed 3, which again I recently saw. So in this movie, it dealt with several things. It dealt with several things, but one of the things that I want to talk about today, which is success and survivor's remorse, right? So survivor's remorse, if anyone is unfamiliar with the term, is when, let's say, you have someone who survives something tragic, right? Let's say there's a plane crash, there's a train crash, a car crash or something like that, even a house catches on fire, and there are lives lost, and in that incident, whatever the incident is. But out of the incident, there's also some people who survives, right? And so sometimes the person who survives will have what's called survivor's guilt, which is or survivor's remorse or survivor's guilt, sort of. So they feel guilty that they lived and the other people didn't, right? Or in this case, when we're talking about success, they feel guilty is when a person feels guilty for being successful when he looks back on the people who were in the same boat with him or her and did not become successful, right? And so oftentimes you have like these musicians and athletes who go and become successful in their own right, in their own sports, and then they come back to their home, their hometown, or the city where they're from, and you have family and you have friends, and then you have people that that just live in the same community that you grew up in, where you became successful and you know um, evolved from this level of maybe financial security or the certain level of education, but you just survived, not survived, but you were successful, became successful. So you elevated from the community that you were in. And so when you go back to that community, sometimes because you look at everyone else who didn't make it out or haven't made it out, and you feel some type of way, you feel remorse, you feel guilty that you've been successful, you know. And so in this movie, that's kind of what happens, you know. The character is the lead character is faced with one of his friends that he grew up with, right? And this friend was locked up, and the friend got out of jail and came to see him. And so he kind of felt guilty that, he had became successful, and his friend now, who sort of, he was kind of living his dream, if you want to look at it that way, because he wanted to be a boxer and all of that, but he ended up going to jail, and so he was kind of like feeling guilty that he had became successful and this friend didn't. And what happens with that is, not only do sometimes you, as the person that put in the work to become successful, feel that, feels remorse, but the person who did not become successful also feels the type of way. And oftentimes they feel jealousy, some form of hatred, you know, where they feel like also that you're living the life that they should be living. You're living the life that they wanted to earn, that they wanted to be in, but they didn't do the things that it took to become successful. And so when I was thinking about it, I said, well, first of all, before you can even have success, uh, remorse or survivor's remorse, you got to be successful first. And so there was three things that I wanted to mention when it comes to what it takes to be successful. And the first thing is, you have to want success for yourself. You got to want it for yourself. A lot of times, especially like me, that I have children, I have sons, I have my daughter who is my only biological child, and I have, nieces, nephews, and young men and women that I mentor, and I want them to be successful, right? I want them to be successful. I want them to achieve. I want them to go to college, and if that's the road that they decide to take, whatever the road, I want them to be entrepreneurs. Like, I want success for them. But unfortunately, me wanting success for them does not equate or equal them having. It doesn't equate or equal them having success, because they have to want it for themselves. Because the thing with success, I can't give it to you. And if I did give it to you, it still takes you to maintain it. It still takes you to do what it needs to be done in order to keep the success that you've been given, right? And so you have to want the success for yourself. You have to be determined to be successful. E.T. the hip hop preacher, for those of you who don't know, is a motivational speaker, number one speaker in the world at one time, and I think he still is. But one of the things that he's always saying and is known for is, when you want to be successful, when you want to, I'm gonna mess up his saying. When you want success as better you want to breathe, that's when you'll be successful, right? And I think I messed it up, something like that. But that's what it comes down to. You have to want it for yourself, and not only just want it, but you have to want success as bad as you want to breathe, right? As bad as you want breath in your lungs, as bad as you want a drink of water on a hot day, you gotta want success for yourself. So that's number one. Number two, after you want the success, you got to put the work in. You got to put the necessary work in order to become successful, right? When you are an athlete, you got to train. You got to work out. You got to come to practice, right? When you're a scholar, you got to read the books. You got to do your homework. You got to study to pass the test, right? You got to put all this work in. When you're an entrepreneur, you got to start the business, right? You got to know what it is to sell, to market, to manage the books, to make sure that your profit and losses are intact, to tax your taxes are intact. You got to know this stuff, and you got to put in the work to make it happen, right? So you got to want success for yourself, but then you also have to make it happen. You got to put the work in, right? And then the last one is, once you have became successful, and and this is not necessarily I think it's a rule to success, which is, you have to give back. And give back can come in many forms. It's not necessarily just giving money back or giving, but when I say give back, I mean, once you become successful, you have to turn around and help someone to become successful. Once you've achieved your dreams, you have to turn around and help someone else achieve their dreams, right? And that will only take you to a different level. Even the Bible says it's more blessed to give than to receive. So after you have received your success, then do something that will help someone else to become successful. And those are three things that I think that it is necessary for us to do for us to become successful. But when we become successful, again, we have those people who feel like they should be in the place where we are. They should have the success that we should have, right? And so going back to our three things is they have to want success for themselves, right? But we have to be careful with these people because a lot of times they don't want their success, they want your success, right? They want your life. So even in the movie Creed, the young man who was the friend, he didn't just want to be a boxer, right? He didn't want to just become a boxer and he wanted them to be number one. He wanted the other guy's life. He wanted Creed's life. He wanted his house. He wanted his title, right? And so you have to be careful for those people who want success, but they want your success, right? So you have to be careful for them people. Secondly, a lot of times the people that have the survivors are, or they don't have survivors remorse, but they are jealous of your success is because they weren't willing to put in the work, right? A lot of times people are looking like they want your life, even if you are successful. A lot of times you have millionaires, and it's like, oh, I want that person, but they don't realize how much work it took that person to get to become a millionaire, to become successful, and then how much work it takes for them to remain successful. Right? It's a lot of work. But a lot of times these people they want the shine, but they don't want the grind. They want to shine, but they don't want the grind. They want to stand in the spotlight, right? They want the success, but they don't want to put in the work to get it. So which is why they even become even more jealous of you and your success because they're not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to make the sacrifice. And so they feel some type of way because you were willing to make the sacrifice. And so since you were willing to make the sacrifice, you're reaping the rewards of that. You're reaping the benefits of that. But a lot of times, because they weren't willing to do it, they feel some type of way. And a lot of times, another reason why they feel some type of way is a lot of because when you come from the same neighborhood and the same conditions and the same environments, and you were giving the same chances and the same opportunities, those same things that you got, they got. But you took advantage of it and you became successful and they didn't. But because you were coming from the same environment and the same circumstances, you take away their excuses. Because if you did it, they can do it. Or they could have done it and still can do it. But they didn't take advantage of the opportunities that you took advantage of. And now, because you took advantage of it and became successful, you take away all of their excuses. So a lot of people say, I can't do this because I grew up poor. I can't do this because I didn't go to college. I can't do this because, my parents didn't have it like that. I can't do this because I didn't have a job, or I don't have a job. I don't have a car, right? They have all these excuses. But then when a person right next to them who also didn't have a job and didn't have a car still becomes successful in their own right, it takes away their excuse. I remember the days I didn't have a car. I had to borrow cars. Ask my friends, can I borrow your car for the day? And then there were times when I didn't have a car and didn't have no one to borrow from. I had to walk to work or catch the bus to work. Many years I caught the bus to work, right? And had to walk about a mile or so to the bus stop to be able to catch the bus to go to work. But nobody wants to make that sacrifice. A lot of times they don't want to put in that work, put in that sacrifice, make those sacrifices in order to be successful. And so last but not least, they feel like you owe them something because they are a part of your life. A lot of times people are successful. When people become successful, other people think they're owed some kind of benefit of your success, from your success, just because they know you, just because they're your family, just because they grew up with you, just because they once gave you a ride to work at one time, right? They feel obligated for your success just because they were around. We have to make sure not only are we careful to watch for these people, but we also have to be careful that we don't become these people, that we don't become the person that's, jealous of the next man, that's jealous of the success that the next person is having. We want to make sure that that's not us. We want to make sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to do to be successful, that we're taking advantage of every opportunity, that we're taking advantage of every chance. And not only that, but also that we are building relationships with people who are also on the same journey, with people who may be working just as hard as you are to build what their definition of success is, to be successful in their own right, in their own careers, in their own lane, that we are connecting with these people, that we may grow together and be able to lift each other up and hold each other accountable, right? So that we rise to greatness together. Then you don't have to leave nobody behind. Then nobody don't have a reason. You don't have a reason to have success survivor's remorse, and they don't have a reason to have success jealousy, because you're both putting in the work and you're both becoming successful together. And you're building a network, a community, and a bond that you can then begin to build your own table. A lot of times we want to get to the next table. We want to get to somebody else's table. Or if I only knew this person, or if I can only get around this person, or if I can only be in the room with this person. Build your own room. Build your own table. That was one of the reasons, even now, that I built the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, because I wanted to get into the speakers arena as a professional speaker. And one of the things, as a speaker, you look for opportunities to speak, but you're not always given that opportunity. So a lot of times we're looking for opportunities to speak, but I said, well, I want to speak when I want to speak. So I started a podcast, and I get to speak whenever I want to speak. And not only do I have a platform where I get to speak whenever, but now I'm able to open up my platform to have guests on, and those guests are able to view to spread their message, to get their point across, to share what the big things that they're doing and being great at it. So at the end of the day, this is what I want you guys to take away from this. The 3 things that it takes to be successful. Number 1, you have to want it for yourself. Number 2, you have to do the work. And number 3, after you've made it, help someone else make it, right? So those are the 3 things that I want you guys to take with you, so that you won't have success survivor's remorse, and neither will you have to worry about people that has success guilt or success jealousy, should I say. Okay, so that's all my time now. Just wanted to make sure I leave those things with you. Thank you guys once again for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Also, I told you guys that I was going to tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. You can win $100 from the podcast by entering our super subscriber contest. What does that mean? First, you must subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. Then text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 in order to qualify to win the $100. The contest is ongoing and is random, so at any time I can pick a name, and then once you end, you can always win. You don't have to re-up, you don't have to, resubscribe or anything like that. Once you do it and you send us that word, text that word WIN to WIN to the number 866-326-0730, and we get your information and check to make sure that you subscribe to all 3 places. Then you will be entered to win $100 in our super subscriber contest. So again, thank you guys again for tuning into the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. and therefore be able to deal with your problems, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. So until next time, we will see you guys next week. Be blessed. Hey guys, I know you're enjoying the podcast. However, don't forget to join our text line at 866-326-0730. That's 866-326-0730 in order to receive text messages with new events and things that is going on and new episodes as they release. All right, see you in a minute. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.